Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the Extra Time FC podcast. I'm your host, Owen, ODAWGWINS across all platforms. Junior is the co-host, JUNIORNKANABASSI across all platforms. I will leave the link to both of our platforms in the description. Today we'll be talking about the Champions League, PSG versus Athletic Bilbao. Is Matvey Safonov better than Lucas Chevalier? And we'll be talking about the Champions League review. So let's start it off. PSG 0, Athletic Bilbao 0. Not a great performance. Junior, what are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, just to sort of liken on to what you said, I think of all the times this year where we've dropped points, I think this is probably the one where I'm like most okay with. In that, it's gonna sound like really cliche. Is that of course, yes, we didn't get the win. I don't think we played great either. But like, I think of all the games where we dropped points, it's probably our best performance overall. I thought, despite everything, I think we definitely did enough to win. It's just that we weren't clinical, and so I wouldn't personally sound any alarm bells. I think there were also, though it must be stated, some problematic issues, specifically with regards to our finishing. But like, I'm just going and looking and thinking of like looking at the table. Like, we're still definitely have our the destiny in our own hands.
Yeah,
if we win
still
our next
fourth.
2 games, exactly. So if we win our next 2 games, unless like
Simple
other teams
top eight.
pad, yeah, top 8 is always basically like if we win against Sporting, top 8 is basically a guarantee, because last year it was what 16 points gets.
I think if we were, I think if we were to draw against Sporting and draw against Newcastle, we'd probably still get top 8.
That'd get us 15 points, and that would make things a bit more.
That would make things interesting, but Sporting have been a decent side in the Champions League this season, and we're playing them in Lisbon. But Newcastle,
Sure.
Newcastle have been poor in the Prem. They've not been great in the Champions League. They're coming off that 2-2 draw to Leverkusen, who we beat by 5 goals. Football math doesn't always work, but we're playing them at home. Playing at St. James Park is difficult, but I think at home we'll be able to comfortably win. But,
yeah,
then again, you look at the injuries that PSG have had this season. Hakimi going to be out for AFCON, I think. So you're looking at a couple rough things, but then Zaire Emery, he's filled that role, I think, perfectly. And, I wasn't typically a fan of Zaire Emery at the right back position. I know we have that academy player. I think his name is David Boley. I've heard some good things about him. And we brought him up to the first team, but we haven't played him. And which surprises me, because Enrique's been, he's been a fan of the academy kids. And Juntu, and Bai, Mayulu. Like, he's been a fan of the academy players. So I'm really shocked to see that he hasn't brought him up yet.
Well, I think the thing with it is that, for one, Zaire Emery is a bit. I guess he's also an academy kid, but I feel like now he's been.
He's been on the team since.
He's been on the team for a while.
Early 23, 24. So he's been.
Exactly.
What's that? 2.5 years we're talking about.
Exactly, and also like I guess we're saying now, him playing in that position is novel. But if you remember back under Galtier, like you remember we played when we got knocked out to Bayern in 2022, 2023. He made his Champions League debut in the knockouts against Bayern, and he played as a right back then. So it's not the first time.
I think
that
when we
as
played Bayern, we played that 3 back. I think Bichabu.
Yeah, we played a 3.
You remember Bichabu?
Yeah.
I think we played. I think he played. I think Ramos played. I think because I think Kimpembe was hurt, and I think Marquinhos played. That was such a bad season, man.
It was, but as in
Galtier has to be one of the worst managers we've ever had, I think. Genuinely speaking, because I remember when we brought him in for Nice, and he did quite well in Nice in the league. I remember Nice were like bottom half before he got there, and then he got them in Europe. He got them to the Coupe de France final, and when we brought him in, I'm like, we'll do good in the league, which we only went into the league by 1 point. We didn't win the Coupe de France. I think we won the Trophée des Champions. I think we won like 4-0. We dominated them. That had my hopes up high for the season. But then we had all the injuries. We came back from World Cup. We were terrible. Yeah, that was just.
I think especially that season. I think the first half of the season, like I think the football or the peaks that we reached, especially the way Eminem, Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe were working, was like generation.
Yeah, it was so good. And then, because I knew we didn't win the group, we drew to Benfica twice, which was really disappointing. But going into knockouts, when we drew Bayern, Bayern pretty much owned us. But once we lost 1-0, I remember we were down 1-0, and Mbappe got that equalizer. It was rolled off our side. Vitinha had that chance in the first half, cleared off the line by De Ligt, And then when they got the
The
second
second
goal, you
leg,
knew it was
yeah.
over. I think Choupo-Moting scored that second goal, if I'm remembering correctly.
Back in the second leg. I think you're right. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the second leg.
But
But like, mhm.
to talk more about the Bilbao game, I thought the lineup was fine, but I thought the substitutions, I thought they were poor. Not bringing on Kang and Lee in a game like that, because I thought Kvaratskhelia was not great, you know. But I think not bringing Kang and Lee, that's a mistake. That was a mistake in my opinion. I thought we would run him in. You know, he's very good. He's a very good chance creator. So I think that's a player you got to bring in that type of game. But then again, going to Bilbao, it's never an easy place to go. I think a lot of La Liga fans, a lot of Barcelona fans, Madrid fans would agree that, you know, going to Bilbao, it's not the most comfortable game. But then again, Real Madrid, who haven't been a great side this season, go there, win 3-0, and we go there and we draw. I mean, I'm personally disappointed with the result. I wanted top two because if you're top two, you automatically get that home advantage in the knockouts, which, especially in like the quarters and semis, we'll probably get a pretty simple team in the round of 16. But in those late games, you want that home advantage, especially because we have a really good atmosphere in the Parc des Princes. So,
Well, I mean, I would suppose that way if you go and you look at like the amount of times, I don't think the Parc des Princes is the fortress it once used to be. I remember like there were years where like we hadn't lost at the Parc des Princes in 5 years, but then you just go and look at like last year or recent times, lost against Bayern, we lost against Atleti, we've lost, you know, against Nice. And we've lost at the Parc a lot more often.
no,
And
yeah,
it's-
definitely. You know, back when you look at like 21, 22, 2021, 2019, like those years, we didn't really lose. But, I mean, then again, it's always better to play at home versus going somewhere like the Bernabeu and playing. Or,
I mean, in fairness though, you look at our Champions League campaign. Obviously, the first playoff against Brest, we didn't have it, and you know, wasn't really much of an
no, we
issue
had
at
the
first,
second
but
leg at home against
we had a
Brest.
second leg home, so we did have it.
But
But
then
in
you-
the next two ones,
Yeah,
like
we
Liverpool,
lost to Liverpool
Aston
at home,
Villa,
but we lost.
and then
We lost. We almost. Oh my god, that Aston Villa game had me on my feet. I was so nervous. I thought it was gonna be another repeat, man. You know, we lose, we get knocked out against a team we shouldn't have been. The game should not have been that close. We were cruising in that first half.
I mean, also you go back and you like that goal that was it McGinn scored, the deflection that goes
No,
in.
that was the Tielemans goal where it goes off Pacho's chest.
Well,
and
yeah,
goes
yeah,
in.
whoever it was, yeah. Then, well, as in, I don't know. I think there were like some fugazi things, and I feel like people have rewritten history to make it seem as oh my goodness, we were on the ropes or whatnot. Like, I would say,
I mean,
like,
I think we were. I think if we were to get
as
equalized,
in it
lose.
felt like it. It felt like it, but like I'll go back and even like let me actually go and get actually that game here, like to go and look at it. Even like when you go back and like look at the momentum during that. So they scored their 2 goals, and afterwards it's still PSG. Yes, Villa they had like their xG of 2.05, but ultimately PSG had the xG of like 0.69 in terms of big chances created. They created what 6? We had 3. We had 9 shots. They had 9 shots to cover. We had 7. As in, it wasn't nearly as like, you know, a one-sided thing as people make it
Oh,
out
I'm
to
not.
be.
I mean,
And
look.
especially
Take a
after
look at the second half stats. Take a look there. What is the second half stats? Just the second half
So,
stats.
They had an xG of 1.83. We had an xG of 0.89. They had 11 shots. We had 12. They had 12 shots. We had 11. 7 shots on target to our 4. 5 big chances to our 2, and we had 2 big chances missed.
Yeah, and I think we got kind of lucky. Unai Emery decided to hook Rashford, which bold decision in my opinion. And we only brought
like-
one player on. We brought Doué on, and that's it. I thought Doué should have started that game over Barcola. I thought that was more of Doué's type of game than Barcola's.
Didn't Barcola get an assist that game? Or
No, he got
No.
he crossed it in. Martinez punched it out, and then Hakimi scored. So he was part of the
Yeah.
build-up in the first goal.
yeah, he was part of the build-up of the first goal. There was also remember Dembele scored a goal that was offside when you chipped Martinez, and like he probably should have been played through earlier.
Well, yeah, I saw the clip. He like jumped up, trying to jump the line.
Yeah,
I think
Like-
Barcola was hooked at that point.
Barcola got hooked in the 58th minute of that game.
But to continue the Bilbao result, I think, you know, you look at some of the individual performance. Safonov, another game, another clean sheet. He didn't have that much to do, but the save in the first half, I think it was, or the save in the second half, the free kick, he tips it over the bar. That's a good save. Distribution was really good. You know, I thought he played well. I'm not going to sit here and say, he should be the starter over Chevalier. But if you compare the performances, he has had better performances in the 2 games to Lucas Chevalier. If you take a look at that, so
I suppose, but then you'd go and you say in those 2 games, PSG just defensively have been better, and he's not been nearly as tested. I guess
I thought he was tested in the first half against Stade Rennais. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Stade Rennais, he had to make a couple of saves there. In fairness, I mean, I guess you can only beat the teams in front of you, but like, I don't know, I think it's premature to go and start. I think a lot of this, and this is why I always felt sort of, I don't want to say bad, but like, you always felt hard done by with Chevalier, because whatever would happen, any mistake he'd go and he'd make, based on the circumstances of how he came to the club, you'd always go and look at, well, Donnarumma this, Donnarumma that. And now to go and, put pressure like this with, the keeper is out and whatnot, there's not much that can be.
And I think people are forgetting the fact of how bad Donnarumma was at points, how many mistakes he made. And when we brought him in, I was typically more of a fan of playing Keylor Navas. You take a look at that Real Madrid game. Nuno Mendes plays it back. Benzema's pressing. All he needs to do is take a touch, boot it halfway, work through to the quarters, to be honest. That shifts the momentum in that game. That's in the 65th minute, I believe, or the 63rd. That's mid-60th minute. That changes the game completely. Because at that point, Mbappe was tearing apart Real Madrid. But then they score a goal. PSG are just looking to hang on. That's all we're doing. We're looking to hang on, and then we concede twice, and then Pochettino has to bring on Di Maria, Draxler, a bunch of other attackers. So if he doesn't make that mistake, we probably win that game. And then you look at Bayern. You look at Bayern, the first leg, he should be saving that Koeman shot. You look at the first leg of Dortmund, the semifinals, he should be saving that Füllkrug shot. There's games where he should be saving shots in big games, and he doesn't do it. Against Liverpool, first leg, should be saving that. Against Atletico Madrid, group stage, should be saving that. There have been times where he's made so many mistakes, but we've kind of just accepted it. And I think it got to the point. I think the main issue was Donnarumma started playing good in March. He started playing good in the knockouts when it mattered, which we love. But that's what people remember him by. Versus if you brought Chevalier in January, nobody would have had a problem with it at all.
Exactly. I think there's been a lot of rewriting of history. And I would say, number one, the issue is normally I'd say like a lot of this has come from non-PSG fans, which, okay, I would say, okay, fine, you don't follow PSG a lot. Then there's a lot of within the PSG community, people going and turning around. It's like, I think we need to remember that, like, people we had, especially after that Liverpool, I remember specifically after that Liverpool tie at home, that, for example, I know that he got, like, abused by fans for the mistake, for allowing that soft goal.
I was part of the just get Donnarumma out of here after the season.
Exactly.
I'm gonna sit here. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I was part of that.
No. I was saying, I think a lot of PSG fans, we had that the second leg against Liverpool, like, saved Donnarumma's like career at PSG. If we get knocked out then and he doesn't have that performance, he's gone. And there's no issues there. It's, again, that fact that he was able to go and get us back and ultimately win us that Champions League, that now people all of a sudden now want to make it seem as though every single time, all the time at PSG, everything was all rosy-tozy and whatnot. Like, he still had issues with his game. He's still not the best with the ball at his feet. Still had moments, for example, from crosses. Still really, really struggled. And hence, he's conceded some howlers from, like, crosses that have come in for Italy as well as for Man City. And it's like, again, this is what was happening at PSG all the time. And I feel like people... I think it's a lot of it is just narratives. Like, they're trying to go and say that, PSG. Like, listen, I probably would still say that I probably still wouldn't have gotten rid of him over the course of the summer. And
because I think he finally hit the potential we've been waiting for, and then you give him out. Improving as a shot stopper is way more difficult than improving with your feet, right? If you took like the month from the Club World Cup to when we placed Tottenham, you could have definitely helped him improve in that feet and that passing aspect. He can improve in that versus shot stopping. And then, you put the pressure on Chevalier now. The way Chevalier, like you said, came in the club. Chevalier doesn't want to come in the club like that. Nobody does. I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I think we've been hard on Chevalier, and I think you got to give him time. He will live up to that potential. He will live up to that level he was at Lille. There's a reason Enrique picked him. You know, we have to trust Enrique. Enrique's made some bold decisions. He told Neymar, I'm happy you're leaving. He told Mbappe, we're going to be better without you. People called him crazy. So you got to trust Enrique. Don't get me wrong. Enrique's had some bad moments. You know, I thought there's been times where he's picked bad lineups. He's made bad subs. But overall, Enrique is the manager that brought us the first Champions League. He is the best manager to coach PSG. So we got to trust him.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. But yeah, were there any other performances that you thought were particularly worthy of discussion?
I mean, we had to bring this up. The Barcola, the 1v1. I looked at the replay, and I think when you take it in the moment, if you watch that replay, you think, oh, leave it to Kvaratskhelia. If you look at the clip, Kvaratskhelia is barely inside the box. And if I'm Barcola in that moment, I'm probably shooting it. I think if Barcola, I know it's a bit of a hypothetical. I think if Barcola scored, people would be like, he could have played it off to Kvaratskhelia anyways. Like, I think it's just the fact that he missed and the fact that people have been criticizing his finishing for so long is what made it worse than it actually was. I think we could look at the chances. You know, Mayulu had a chance in the first half. Good save from Simone, but shoots it straight under the keeper where Simone grabs it. I think Kvaratskhelia had a chance. Zaire Emery had a good hit. To be fair, Simone, best player, I think, yesterday. But then again, you know, Simone's been criticized for his recent performances. You know, people have been saying, start Joan Garcia, start David Raya the time World Cup comes around. So, you know, Simone, he's a good keeper, but I don't think there should be games where, especially against a club like PSG, he should be the best player on the pitch. I think that's unacceptable in my opinion.
Well, I think two things can be true at once. Like, okay, maybe he's not had the best season overall, but then he could just turn up and have a really good game going today. Like he like if you go and you look on FontMob, look at the goals that he prevented like an XG of 1.77. So directly based on his contributions, he prevented a full nearly 2 goals from going in. I think the one you talked about, the Mayu chance, I think the first one, I don't think there's much more you can ask from him. He's got somebody literally on him. I think the second one in the second half where the ball comes in from Warren, or I think it was either Warren or I think the second one was Kvara, plays it off. It's bouncing a bit where he hits it into the ground. I think that one you could say he has to do better.
Yeah.
But I think also again with the one with the
and
the
you look at that late.
one,
I think there was a late Fabian chance in the 87th minute. Fabian comes in, good save, and then the rebound. You shoot a rebound, it's cleared off the line. That was another chance. I thought that one was it. That one.
The Berchiche one when he cleared that one out.
Yeah, Fabian comes in. I think it was a save, and then we cross it back in, and then they cleared out. I think you know what I'm referring to.
Berchiche, I know which one you're talking about. Well, I think the thing is, though, I think the Barkle one is probably the clearest one because, again, you said it was a bit of speculation. It's like if he goes in and he scores it, then yeah, there's no issues. But I think the fact is that I think Barkle is paying in cash all the stuff, all the misses he's had previously. And it's one, given then the result of the game, that if he squares that, because the thing is, that you go and you look at it like this, if he squares that and then Kvaratskhelia misses, or even let's say, I think he'd get more flack for the attempt and not scoring it than if he'd squared it and let's say, for example, defender got there ahead. I think the idea there, if he'd done it, it wouldn't help. Especially also because look at how many times we've seen Barcola do something similar like that. Like look at all the Stuttgart games, the games against City, where he's gone. He can go and decide to shoot by himself, but decides to cut it back to a Dembele. How many times the one against Leverkusen, for example, he could go and decide to
the one against Liverpool in the knockouts last year.
Liverpool, exactly, but instead he decides to cut it back. And I think that.
Yeah, I don't think Barcola is a selfish footballer. I saw a lot of the comments.
No, he's not. Yeah,
I saw Barcola's selfish. You know, I saw one comment, his final third, choices are bad. Barcola passes the ball more than he shoots. Barcola only takes shots when he's like, yeah, I'm confident I can score.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I also want, again, it almost seems like, you know how they say there's nothing new under the sun? Remember, these were the exact same conversations we were having of Dembele in 23-24. Dembele could not finish if his life depended on it. And what was the thing we always said? If Dembele could find his finishing, he would be a Ballon d'Or candidate player.
And he
now all of a
sudden,
sudden, exactly. And now all of a sudden, Barcola is going through the exact same thing.
The thing with Barcola is last season, in the 24-25 season, the first half, he was our best player. He was scoring the goals. He was our goal scorer. And I think Barcola not getting nominated top 30 for the Ballon d'Or, that was outrageous. That was outrageous. You have a guy like Lautaro Martinez, who is known for not performing in the big games. So Barcola did well in the big games. We don't win the Champions League if Barcola's not on the team that year.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's annoying because his finishing's not been great, and I think a bigger issue is that, like, you know, there were the rumors that he wanted to go, you know, to Liverpool or Bayern over the summer and all that, and potentially, you know, murmurs of like him not being happy with the game time and whatnot. And the issue is that, okay, now he's gotten the game time. Doué's been out, Dembele's been out. He's been allowed to play on his preferred left wing, on the right wing. He's played, and he's not really delivered. He's not been able to go and take it that you know, importance and go and drive things forward. And I think that definitely doesn't help in that aspect. Now that Doué's coming back, now that Dembele's going to be coming back.
Yeah,
you
Doué
can't
came
go
off
and
the
then,
bench yesterday.
Exactly, and he's not going to be able to argue, well, coach, you didn't give me enough, you know, game time. He's like, well, yes, I did. You just didn't take it. And so I think that's the slight concern. And then I think it's just a lot of it was just reactionary in the fact that we didn't end up getting the win.
Yeah, but another performance I want to talk about, Fabian Ruiz. And, you know, in the 23-24 season, I was a big Fabian disliker. This looks so bad that I'm saying it now, but then at the time I wanted Ugarte to be starting as our DM because we had Ugarte, and Ugarte wasn't that. Now that I think about it, I can't picture Ugarte playing for PSG because he's just so bad. I don't even think he should play over Kabi Mainu. But Ugarte, he wasn't horrible for PSG. Like when he played, he wasn't that bad.
Well, I mean, hold on. Those first couple of months he was generational, but afterwards, like you saw the technical limitations.
You saw the real Manuel Ugarte. You saw the Ugarte that might be worse than controlling a football than me. Like, he's not great, but Fabian Ruiz, 23-24 was rough. 24-25, very good. I think that Euros, he was really good, and then last season was really good. This season, he's had some good moments, but he's been quiet most of the time. I think Vitinha, I don't think it's been Vitinha and João Neves just overshadowing by a lot, which they have, but I think that's kind of what we expected. Fabian's been quiet, and you start to wonder, when Hakimi comes back, do you put João Neves on that left side and you start Zaire Emery on that right side? Because Zaire Emery's been, this is the 23-24 Zaire Emery we're seeing again.
Yeah, I just think that they offer something different. Like, I think Fabian is the type of player that he's not flashy, right? He's almost like a Xavi. Like, you won't really see him much. It's more so when he's not there, that's when you really feel it. And when he's not on the pitch, that's when you really. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been a league game or whatnot, but like he came on.
Did he play against Barca?
Did he play against Barca? I think he came on because João Neves didn't play.
Yeah, João Neves got hurt in warm-ups.
Yeah, so I don't. Hold on, let me check.
I'm checking right
now. I think he might have come on. He
did start the game. He did start the game against Barca. Okay. I feel like it was that Bayern game he didn't start. No, he was there too. He might have been absent against Tottenham. No, he was there too. I'm trying to think.
There was a game. Yeah, I think there was a game where he came on and I just think in the midfield he offers something that nobody else does, because I guess Warren obviously is very much like physical. He'll go and get into tackles, win duels and whatnot. Whereas Fabian,
he wasn't there. He wasn't there against Leverkusen. That's the game he wasn't there. He wasn't there against Leverkusen, which our midfield was struggling aerial duels in the first half. So maybe it's because like if you start Zaire Emery, Vitinha, João Neves, and Zaire Emery, I think they're all below 6 foot. We don't have tall midfielders. João Neves can get up there. He can win headers. But in terms of height, we don't really have that height. That might be the thing he adds.
But the thing is, it's not like he's a player who utilizes his height either. Like,
yeah.
Have you ever do you have a marquee time where he won a massive header and whatnot for PSG?
Now, I remember that first leg against Dortmund where he missed that header, which you should have put in the back of the net.
Yeah. I think he's the type of player that when he's not there, you definitely feel it. I thought he had a good game yesterday. I mean, I guess the chance he had a couple. I think he had like 5 shots. I mean, going like he had a lot of attempts.
I think
last
PSG
game.
had a lot
4
of big
shots.
chances missed though.
Yeah, we had 5 big chances created and 5 big chances missed.
That's
Um,
can't
he
have
got
that.
involved. There was that one in the 80th minute. You remember? There was a couple other
Yeah,
times where he
that's
blasted it
the
over
one
the
I was talking about where he
crossbar.
shot it. It was saved.
Saved, and he shot it again.
Yeah,
and it was
he had
cleared off
2
the
shots
line.
on target, 2 shots off target. So he had 4 shots in total. So he was involved in the game.
Yeah.
But then another performance, which I want to talk about, Kvaratskhelia. And that was quiet. I thought Kvaratskhelia, it's been some games this season where I'm expecting more from him, and he just hasn't really delivered. Like, against, what was it? Against Tottenham. I don't know if he was there against Tottenham, but I think he had a quiet game against Tottenham too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there have been games where, if you look at it, it's like he completes the most dribbles in the game. But when you watch the game, he doesn't really do much. Like, I think there's been too many times where he doesn't really affect the game as much as I think he should. Like, when I see Kvaratskhelia play, I'm expecting beat your man and create something. I don't see that. I see kind of a passive play recently. He gets the ball on the wing, he dribbles forward, and he just passes it back. And I don't really know what's going on much. Like, you take a guy like Barcola. Barcola is going at defenders. You take a guy like Kang-in Lee. Kang-in Lee's trying to create something. Kvaratskhelia, he seems more like a passive player, but when he wants to attack, you take that goal against Atalanta, first Champions League game. He gets the ball, picks up midfield, dribbles past 3 or 4 players, smashes it in. When he wants to attack, he does. But I think there's just too many moments where he's just too passive.
I think I fully agree, and I feel like I'll probably go and say a hot take. I think that we've been sort of a bit like it's a bit of a double standard the way that the PSG fan base has treated Barcola and treated Kvara. I think this season they've got similar GA, and they've both been for the most part relatively fit and healthy. However, I feel like we've gotten a lot more down onto Barcola compared to Kvara, and I think the only reason is because Kvara played a much more integral role in our Champions League campaign, especially during the latter stages, whereas Barcola didn't nearly as much. But if you go and you look at it ever since then, like I would argue, if we're being completely honest, ever since the Champions League final, the 31st of May 2025, I would argue that Barcola, you could argue, has been better than Kvara.
Yeah,
Like,
because you take
I
that
thought
French Super Cup final. Barcola, 2 goals and an assist, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even just before, ever since the Champions League final specifically, like I thought Kvara had a very, very poor Club World Cup. Didn't really do much. He scored that Fugazi, goal from the back and whatnot.
Yeah.
Ever since in the league, he's been slow. And even though Barco's not been, setting the world afire, he's at least trying. And I think you correctly alluded to the fact that he chooses his games. Like, I feel like he'll try to step it up in the Champions League, and in the league, he's not good. But the thing is, though, is that now that form is sort of translating to the Champions League, and he's just not there. Like, of course.
Yeah, and in the
he scored
league, I mean, we're not winning the league right now. When Dembele's not there, someone has to step up because, even when Dembele's not there, we don't play Ramos up top. Kvara seems to cross the ball in a lot. Giancarlo Ramos is in the middle. Mayula's not really good in the air. And like you said on stats, this season, Kvaratskhelia, 19 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 13 games in League One, 6 GA, 3 goals, 3 assists, 4 GA in 5 games of the Champions League versus Barcola, 5 goals, 1 assist in 12 games in League One, 6 games in the Champions League, 2 assists, and then 1 Super Cup where they both did nothing. So 5 goals, 3 assists, 19 games for Barcola. 5 goals, 5 assists for Kvaratskhelia, where Barcola, believe it or not, has played more minutes, though. 1,274 minutes for Barcola. 1,118 minutes from Kvaratskhelia. And this is from Transfer Market. And it got updated from yesterday. Versus you take Kvaratskhelia last season, 24-25. You said poor Club World Cup. 3 GA in 7 games. But you take the whole season from Kvaratskelia's standpoint. 51 games. This is including Italy. 51 games, 13 goals, 11 assists. Barcola last season, 64 games, 21 goals, 21 assists. So 42 GA for Barcola, 24 GA for Kvaratskhelia in 13 less games. I mean, even if Kvaratskhelia was going to get a GA in all the remaining of those games, he doesn't equal Barcola's stats. And I know stats aren't everything, right? But I mean, they're important. And people are acting like Kvaratskhelia is this miles clear footballer Barcola, which I don't think he is. Personally, for me, I think Dembele and Doué are clear starters, in my opinion. I think Dembele has to be a starter up that middle. Doué has to be a starter up that right or left. Versus Barcola and Kvaratskhelia, week in, week out, I probably think they're fighting for their spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest difference is that, unfortunately, even though it's funny as it may seem, Kvaratskhelia is probably the bigger brand. You'd argue, like, what he did at Napoli before, probably more well known, despite being Georgian and whatnot. And I think that, like, because I can't remember where the words this asked, but I got asked, like, if you had to keep one, either Barcola or Kvara, who would you keep? And honestly, even though you could argue that, yeah, Kvara is perhaps more talented and whatnot, I'd probably go and say that I probably prefer Barcola because of the fact that, I think that the difference is, one of the big differences, I think that even though both players, they prefer playing from the left, I think that's undoubtable. I would argue that Barcola can still play off the right, whereas Kvara can't. Kvara's been doo-doo dog water playing from the right.
Kvara, you want to talk about non-existent? Kvara is nowhere to be seen at all when it comes to the right side. Every time he's on the right, I'm thinking to myself, Kang and Lee. I don't understand when we don't have a pure right winger. I don't understand the Kang and Lee disrespect. Kang and Lee is a good footballer. I want Kang and Lee on this team. People talk about send Kang and Lee on loan, sell Kang and Lee. I want Kang and Lee on the team. I wouldn't sell Kang and Lee. I think Kang and Lee, when he comes on, proves he should get more minutes. I'm not going to go and say Kang and Lee's in a Chiesa situation, but I think Kang and Lee is a player that deserves more credit, deserves more playing time.
I definitely agree, especially in a game like yesterday where, just again, it was another Kvara game where he wasn't doing much. But going back to the Barcola versus Kvara, I also think that why I would personally, if we had to choose and we had to get rid of either Kvara or Barcola, I'd get rid of Kvara because I feel like Barcola specifically offers us a thing that our wingers that nobody else can, and that is the threat in behind. The fact is that even though Dembele is not slow by any means, Barcola is the only one where you can play a ball from Fabian, Vitinha, Nuno, that you play a ball in behind and he runs onto it. Nobody else has that threat in behind at PSG. Whereas Kvara, you could argue that Doué does similar things in terms of driving at defenders, taking people one-on-one. Dembele could do similar things when you put him on the wing, so on and so forth, right? Whereas Barcola, that threat in behind, there is no PSG player that is so dangerous when the ball is put in behind. And that is something that we've exploited with Barcola. Like, just look at how many, I remember when Dembele got his his Ligue 1 Player of the Year. He was asked, who's the most underrated player in the league? He said Barcola. He's my best assister. Like, how many times did we have a case where a Fabian, a Vitinha, a Nuno puts a long ball on that left-hand channel, Barcola runs onto it, sweats it to Dembele.
I remember, I think it was a Stuttgart game. Vitinha gives the ball to Warren. Warren chips it over. Barcola runs in, plays it to Dembele. Originally gets called offsides, but gets the reverse. Later in that game, Barcola gets the ball again. I think the ball was from Vitinha this time. Plays it across. Doué should be putting that away, but it's a really good save from the goalkeeper. There's been so many times. Take the Liverpool game. Take the second leg from Villa. I think there were moments where in the Arsenal game, in the second leg, because Dembele was hurt, Barcola was constantly playing through balls. So I think, look, I'm a big fan of Kvaratskhelia. This isn't me and you hating on Kvara, but in terms of what Barcola does, I think Barcola has more to his game than Kvaratskhelia. I think if we were to get rid of Kvara versus Barcola, I think we'd be worse without Barcola. And I know the argument's going to be, look at PSG, before Kvaratskhelia came in. I think the thing that changed it was that Man City game. Barcola starts that transition. He gets the ball. He flicks it past Nunez. He runs down the line. He squares to Dembele. He gets the equalizer as well. Doué hits the crossbar. Barcola's there. Puts it back in. So I think Barcola, he's done more for PSG than Kvaratskhelia has.
I think the thing that a lot of people would go and say is that they go back and they look at, Aston Villa, the goal that Kvara goes and scores, turns inside out. Disasi smacks it into the roof of the net. Again, maybe less so against Arsenal. Or I guess no, against Arsenal.
Getting the
assist. For the Dembele goal, and then obviously in the final going and scoring the goal. Whereas, you go back and the one thing that you remember from Barcola is missing what would have been one of the greatest.
Oh my God! Put a Cherby in the dirt, and he had that. I think it was a few minutes before Fabian crosses the ball. He takes a touch. I think he takes a touch on his chest, volleys it, goes over the bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's a tough shot.
Like I just even like going back and thinking back at the Champions League, like okay, bar Kvara's goal against Aston Villa, it's not like I feel like again this is why I go and I think there's a double standards with. I think maybe it's because Barcola he's got that nonchalant gimmick, like he doesn't care and whatnot. But like if we really you think back at it, the only thing that separate the two is you maybe say what Kvara scored in that final, and at that point that was what the third was it was the fourth goal. So we're differentiating between his fourth goal in the Champions League final, which granted we're very thankful for, is one of the five.
Yeah, but I think that fourth goal kind of put it away. And I was like, yeah, we definitely put it away.
Yeah, but like it wasn't like it's not like he scored the first goal. It's not like he scored one of the Douay goals and whatnot. I think even then, like realistically speaking, we're probably going and winning that game, and that's the only thing that separates. Because after what you go and you say, oh, the Aston Villa goal. Crucial. We were 1-1 at that point. Allowed us to win that game, and then eventually Nuno got the winner to make it 3-1. But then I would go and say that if it wasn't for Barcola, you could argue PSG isn't even in that point. And that City game, I remember because Kvara was in the stands, right? Because he couldn't play that game. So that game, you could almost. I remember the man of the match that day was João Neves, but you could make a very good case for Barcola. Barcola is the one.
Assist.
Exactly, he's the one
who started that momentum.
Exactly. That Matheus Nunes is basically what changed PSG season. That game, that singular game, gets it, squares it for Dembele, and then scores afterwards, is what changes everything. And so, yeah, I definitely agree that Barcola definitely gets a lot more stick than he deserves to. And it's not to go and say that like he's excused from all reproach. He should definitely still be doing better on that chance that he had today. Should definitely still be improving his finishing, and at times probably needs to stop the the nonchalant gimmick. But like, I feel like people have started talking about, oh, get rid of Barcola, get rid of him in January. We don't need him, and so on and so forth. And I think it's like, well, we need to calm down. We need to calm down.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that sums it up for PSG. But to talk about the other Champions League games, I'm going to talk about a game that it was pushed forward hours before. The Kairat Almighty Olympiacos game. It got pushed. It's usually 12:45, those first two games, my time. And then it got pushed to 10:30 in the morning. That game, 1-0 Olympiacos. One of the worst games from a footballing aspect I've seen in a while. I mean, Kairat Almighty dominated that game. Olympiacos dominated that game. 14 shots to Kairat's 4. 6 shots to Kairat's 1. The possession was kind of equal. But if you watch the game, I mean, Kairat are so poor. And the goalkeeper, again, despite losing, got the man of the match in terms of FOTMOB. I doubt he got the award because they lost. But, I mean, they were so poor. That was genuine. I'm not exaggerating. That was genuinely one of the worst performances I've seen from a Champions League team at home. It was so rough. And the Kazakhstan league is over, which might be affecting Kairat. Like, they don't play another game until January 20th when they play Club Brugge. And you look at you look at some of more of the stats. Kairat Almighty, no big chances. 3 big chances for Olympiacos. The keeper had to make 8 saves for Kairat Almighty. A 22-year-old keeper as well. Very good. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets signed to a bigger club. I mean, he faced 2.3 XG versus Olympiacos keeper 0.15. That's rough. So I think Kairat, they might get Champions League football next year. They have to play through the qualifications, but in terms of teams, that was one of the bigger worries about expanding the Champions League because we had 32. I think we have, 36 now?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the bigger worries. But teams like that was one of the game. That game probably doesn't want to be talked about much because of how poor it was. But the big game that day, in terms of teams from football, Liverpool versus Inter. That was another really slow game. And I was really unimpressed by Inter Milan. You know, I know they're under a new manager, and who was their manager last season? I'm trying to think. Inzaghi. You know, he had them 2 Champions League finals in 3 years. But, I mean, you look at the lineup, it's pretty much the same as the final. The only difference is no Dumfries. And Pavard got loaned out to Marseille. Akanji's been brought in. To be fair, Chanaloglu had to get hooked in the 11th minute due to injury. Acerbi getting hooked in the 31st. And then the stats, 50% possession for each. But you look at like the shots and goals. 1.42 xG to Liverpool, 12 shots to 9, 5 shots on target to 2, 2 big chances for Liverpool. The main thing I want to talk about is that penalty decision. Awful. An awful decision. I thought that was. I mean, he pulls the shirt barely. Wirtz sells it very good. But Bastoni. And I see a lot of Liverpool fans complaining about the first goal not standing. I don't get what they're complaining. If Ekitike has his arm down by his side, that doesn't take the deflection it takes towards Konate.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the rules of, like, the IFAB rules of the game are pretty clear in that if there's they're a lot stricter for the attacking team, right? So if that was a defender whose, like, arms were in a natural position and it was ricochet, they'd probably be a bit more lenient. But the rules are pretty clear that, especially in an offensive standpoint, if there's any handball, they're going to treat it super strictly because you're deemed as having gotten an advantage because you're attacking. So it's, I mean, by the rules of the game, it was correctly applied, and that goal shouldn't have stood.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And then probably the biggest game of the week, Real Madrid, Manchester City. And, the big thing was, how are they going to play without Kylian Mbappe? That was the main topic. And he ended up not getting subbed on. But apparently, according to, I didn't watch the game. I was watching the PSG game, but I watched the highlights. They had some good attacking moments. But Vinicius Jr., all these Vinny fans who think Mbappe's the problem, he was horrible. Least touches out of any player with 37. 0 goals, 0 assists. 0 out of 2 accurate crosses. I mean, he was not good. And continue.
Yeah, I was just saying that, like, I've listening to a lot of the, the Madridistas out there going and saying that despite the loss, they were a lot more positive in saying that, like, at least this game, it sort of taught you that your best lineup probably does not include Vinny. They said that this lineup includes basically the team as it is. Maybe instead of, Ceballos, you'd have, a Camavinga in there. And then assuming, everyone's fit and healthy, maybe Valverde's not in there. But basically the front lineup should be Mbappe on the left, Garcia through the middle, and then Rodrigo on the right, because Vinny is just no longer there. Like, at this point, there's not really much you can do to defend him. This time, he played on his preferred right side. There's no Mbappe. There's no Mbappe to go and be in his zone and whatnot. It's against a big team. The Blanks are there. It's at the Bernabeu. There's no excuses. And he dropped a generational stinker. And I mean, we could say whatever we want about Mbappe, this, then the other. But the thing is that generally he goes and he will go and perform. And so
especially in the big games.
Exactly, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what decisions Xabi Alonso decides to
if he still has his job for who knows.
True. Do you think he's going to get?
I don't think he's going to get sacked. I think I've heard too much good things about that performance for him to get sacked. And the main question is, if you sack him, who do you bring in?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like right
now, the main
now,
topic is Zidane, but I've heard a lot about Zidane wanting to coach the French national team after Deschamps. Whenever there's rumors about Deschamps retiring from the French national team after the World Cup.
Oh, he's confirmed it. He's already said this is his last international competition.
Yeah.
So, as in, unless Real Madrid go and get Zidane on an interim basis just until the rest of the season, then
or he might be the permanent manager. But
With Zidane.
yeah,
Well, I mean, Zidane's already expressly stated that he wants to train the French national team, and now there's going to be a golden opportunity for him to do so. And also, this would be his third time coming back to Madrid, and both times he left because of, sort of the stress of it all and not wanting to go and do so. So, as in him coming back again would sort of be like, what's the point? And I guess the whole point, the reason why Madrid went out to go and get Xabi Alonso was to sort of have the PSG build mindset or Arteta-esque mindset of building something, having a style of play, having an identity. And again, this is not, throw shade at Zidane and whatnot, but I don't know Zidane as being, some tactical, genius or anything.
I think
He's
the
just
team
sort of
around him that he had back in 2016-17, I mean, you're talking about one of the best midfield trios ever. You're talking about one of the best front threes ever. I mean, you're talking about Sergio Ramos, one of the best defenders ever. Marcelo, one of the best left backs ever. Carvajal, one of the best right backs ever. You had these generational players. And don't get me wrong, Real Madrid have generational players. Mbappe is a generational player. Bellingham is a generational player. Like, you have generational talents on Real Madrid. Courtois will retire as one of the best goalkeepers to ever do it. So you have these players, but they don't have the chemistry. And I'll show you guys a lineup here that I thought really. I'll show you the screen too, Junior. This is the lineup I think Real Madrid should go with. Show it here. Let me just pull it up. This right here. A 4-3-2-1. A 4-3-1-2. Can you see it, Junior?
Yep.
A 4-3-1-2. Courtois, Trent, Militao, Huijsen, Reyes. Rudiger is not the same player he once was. I think Rudiger would agree with that. And then Valverde, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Mbappe. I'm not a big fan of Rodrigo, but he looked good last night. He did. He looked good on that right side. And Mbappe, I'm not saying he's more of a number 9 in this position, but you can move him out a little bit. If you want to push him out here sometimes for him to take his man on, and then, if Rodrigo comes out wide, Bellingham could go at that number 9 in the box. Bellingham is very good in the air. So if Mbappe's out on the wing, right, he could instead of taking his men on, cross the ball in the box. Bellingham, very good in the air. And then going forward in transition, Valverde, very quick. Going forward, you play push Valverde more that right mid position, I guess, to go up. Camavinga, you can do the same. Camavinga, one of the better midfielders on the ball. Versus when they drop back on defense, they go more central. And then you have a guy like Trent, who is elite at passing. Huijsen, very good on the ball. Reyes, very solid. Militao, pretty solid too. So you have these guys who are very good on the ball. And I think Mbappe, he wants that free roam on the left side. And Rodrigo has come out and said he wants to play more on the left, but at this rate, I think Rodrigo will take any sort of playing time he can get. And I think Rodrigo needs to realize on the right, he's very good. I mean, the goal he scored yesterday, I think Donnarumma should be doing better, but he's very good on that right side. He scored a lot of goals on that right side.
Yeah, would you not say, though, because from what I've heard from the Madrid fans is that yesterday's game showcased that they kind of need a sort of a focal point. So in the traditional number 9, like you go back you go back and you look at some of the best Madrid sides. One of the things that they've had is having that, like even when they won the Champions League 2 years ago, they had a Joselu, obviously with Benzema and Vinny and so on and so forth. Would you not say that having 2 non-traditional strikers in Mbappe and Rodrigo wouldn't help? Like even Mbappe, when you look at, for example, when he's been flourished the most, oftentimes with the national team, it's when he's had a second striker. So you go and look when you had Giroud with the national team or his connection with Benzema. It's oftentimes when he's playing as like a second striker where he has that ability to roam more freely on the left. Would you not say, like, I would probably go and say that it might sound daft and a bit weird, but I'd probably replace Rodrigo with like a Gonzalo Garcia who will just stay in the 9, in the box and be that 9 and be that target man. Yeah,
I get your point, but like I said, when they're forward, because I see a lot of Madrid games, and when they get to the low box, there's constantly times where they're just passing the ball around the box. You put Bellingham. I saw a couple of Real Madrid fans. I saw Darlin say he would like to see Bellingham, go up top sometimes in the box. I think going up top in the box, obviously, you're on top the entire time. But if you're passing the ball around against a low block, because Real Madrid are good against teams that don't do low blocks, but once they go to a team that does a low block, like a Mallorca, they're going to struggle to get goals. So I think if you put Bellingham in that box, Mbappe and Rodrigo, they aren't the best at creating. But then you have a guy like Camavinga, who's good in crosses. Trent, who is one of, if not the best fullback in the world when it comes to crosses. So I think if you have Bellingham in the box, he can win aerial duels. And Mbappe, I mean, he's shown he can win headers. He doesn't have that striker trait to where he goes in the box, he gets in those positions. But when he gets into those positions, he can win the headers.
So would you not say that? Why would you go when you play a Rodrigo there, especially against a low block compared to a Gonzalo Garcia? Like at that point, you wouldn't really be needing like somebody to stretch out the game. You need somebody in the box causing them issues. And Gonzalo
Maybe
Garcia
in the low blocks, you could start a guy. I mean, I think Endrick is miles ahead of Gonzalo Garcia as a player. So I would put him back, especially because Endrick's left-footed, so it might work better. So he can like cut in and shoot or whatever. Mbappe on the left, Endrick on the right, in terms of when you play low blocks. So you have that striker. But the issue is, it's not like Endrick and Gonzalo Garcia are big strikers. They're not the size and strength of Benzema. They're not the size of Hazard or Haaland. Like, they're not exactly extraordinary in the air. Versus a Bellingham who's big, who's like physical. He'll really die for those headers.
Well, I think the issue is not necessarily going in. Like, I think a lot of heading is not necessarily like how big and tall you are. For example, a player that like a lot of other players have gone and said is like is a remarkably good header is Griezmann. Griezmann's not all that tall, or like your Kun Aguero's. I think one of the biggest things that Madrid have an issue with is just a striker or that number 9 to occupy that space. The biggest thing with Mbappe is that he is a number 9 on the team sheet, right? But he doesn't occupy those spaces. Where somebody like, even for us right at PSG, you go and you look at Dembele is our false 9, but he often doesn't stay there. Whereas when you go and you compare when we have like Gonzalo Ramos staying there, that's a player who will stay in that box and in that area and just occupy it. And at times, that is all Madrid need. Because, like, I guess it's sort of different to PSG. Was when, for example, we go and bring on Gonzalo Ramos, as in he doesn't fit into the style that PSG play, and it's very fluid, so on and so forth. Whereas Madrid probably could use a bit more of that, a bit more structure, and actually having a presence in that 9 and somebody to go and, you know, make those defenders think about something. Whereas when Mbappe's there, he'll go and be on the left with Vinny, which just makes it easier. It means that there's one less person to mark, and it makes it easier. And they know that basically, if you're Madrid, you're never going to cross. So if I keep everything away from you, you're never going to go and dare to go and put a cross in, because you've got no one in the box to go and to get on the end of a header.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying, like, you know, when I've seen the Madrid games, Bellingham is like taking up too much space in the middle. So you have those 3 midfielders. You have Valverde, Tchouaméni, and Camavinga. Tchouaméni and Valverde are very good in the ball. Valverde, he has a lot offered to his game. You know, Valverde can get the ball, you know, top of the box, and he can take shots. He's very good long shots. But then you have Bellingham push up towards the top of the box, so you can have a player like Jude Bellingham in that top of the box when you're facing the low blocks. I think that's the biggest thing. So when you're in transition, if you're ever in transition, which you might be sometimes against those low blocks, maybe off a corner, that's when you have the pace of Mbappe, Rodrigo, and Valverde. Like, you have those speeds, and when you're like in and around the box against the low blocks, you can have Bellingham go in that kind of position. Because the main thing when Bellingham, an issue, if let's say Real Madrid played the 4-2-3-1 they've been playing most of the time, you have 3 midfielders. So if Bellingham goes in the box and you're caught out in transition, you have 2 DMs. You have 2 midfielders. Versus if you're playing a 4-3-1-2, you have 3 midfielders. So you have someone on the left. You have someone in the middle. You have someone on the right. And especially like Valverde, if you have one coming across to the left, Valverde is very quick to track back. Like, you have those quicker midfielders too. So I think having those 3 midfielders back, it kind of defeats the worry as Jude Bellingham getting caught in transition. So it's like you're pretty much playing like a 4-3-3, but a Cam who just goes up higher in the box, if you get what I'm saying.
Suppose so. You'd say basically that Madrid would only play with two properly recognized attackers per se. And Bellingham would be like not quite. He's not like a false nine, but he's a bit more than a cam.
Yeah, like he's a little higher up. So like in build up play, he'll be that cam when you're in transition or you're just trying to build up. But when you're in and around the box, you're looking for guys in the box. That's where Bellingham goes in the box. That's where he goes.
To be a box crasher, basically.
Pretty much. I think that could work. Like, I obviously, Xabi Alonso will never see this, but in a somehow, some way he does. I think it's something you try. And I don't think, because Xabi Alonso, he's done a lot of experimenting at this season. He's switched formations. He's tried to play that 5-back. He tried at Leverkusen. You know, he's tried different lineups. He's tried Fran Garcia. He's tried Carvajal. He's tried Asensio. He's tried, you know, different defenders at different positions. He tried Asensio at right back. Tried Valverde at right back. You know, he's tried different players in different positions. He's tried the 4-4-2 with Bellingham at left mid. So he's tried a lot of things. He wants to make it work. You can obviously see he wants things to work. But I think, personally, that's the source you go. I don't think Vinny can be a starter anymore. And I don't think they have an elite number 9. I think Endrick has the potential, but it's looking like he's going to go on loan to Lyon. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Dogdred go and do. Well, I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. And then, to round it off, the last thing I want to talk about, the table of the Champions League. It's very interesting. You know, you look at it, you have Atalanta. That might be another result we have to talk about real quick. Atalanta 2, Chelsea 1. Chelsea are winless in their last 4 games. And they put out a strong lineup. I mean, Sanchez, James, Caicedo, Enzo, Pedro Neto, Gittins. Obviously, I don't think Cole Palmer was there. He's not injured, but, you know, you have no Romeo Lavia, no Liam Delap, no Dario Esujo, no Levi Colwill. And the biggest thing for me is Joao Pedro. And it kind of comes back to the Real Madrid thing. Joao Pedro is not a real number 9, in my opinion. He's not great in the air. He has good finishing skills, but I feel like he's better more on that left side. Like, he has striker traits, but if Chelsea wanted to, you know, win something, I know they won the Club World Cup, but if they want to win something serious, they want to win the league, they want to go far in the Champions League, they need to, A, trust the lap to become that real striker, or B, develop Pedro into a good striker, or C, buy an elite number 9, which obviously they're willing to spend the money. Do you go out and get a guy like Victor Osimhen, who they've been rumored to? I mean, Chelsea have been rumored to pretty much everyone, that every player that's ever existed. But I'm sure I've been rumored to Chelsea at one point. But do you go out and do you get a real elite number 9? Do you get a win now number 9? Or do you keep trusting Joao Pedro? Because Joao Pedro's, he's shown signs of being really good. Liam Delap has shown signs of being good. These are players I'm not saying you can't trust, but you go out and get an elite number 9, because Chelsea a couple weeks ago, they were second. They were looking in title contention, and now they're looking at a top 4 race. They're on points with Man United. So, but the biggest thing for me with Chelsea is their defense. I think they're 2 center backs. I mean, the rotation is just awful. I think Levi Colwill is solid. I think Trevor Chalobah is decent, but Tossin, oh my God. Tossin, I mean, you got to toss him in the bin. Oh my goodness. He's generational stinker. But yeah, I mean, you have one of the better left backs, Cucurella. Gusto's developing. Sanchez has been good. I think that center back depth, it's not there. It's not there.
Mm-hmm. I guess, yeah, I'd have to go back. I'm just trying to think here, as in, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with your evaluation of Joao Pedro, because I think he's I saw his goal that he scored, and it's a pretty, you know, typical poacher goal. He's in that area. Even going back and looking at the goal that he scored against Spurs, you know, it's good pressing and whatnot. I feel like he stays, broadly speaking, in that striker area. And if I'm not mistaken, he played as a striker predominantly whilst he was at Brighton. it's not like an Mbappe who like he's been a strike even at like he's finally at PSG was a striker, air quotes. But he'd basically be like a left forward, I would go and say. Which Alpeter I feel like does occupy much more so the center of the pitch. And I don't have anything to I feel like if I looked at his heat map, for example, I feel like he'd be much more central than, for example, an Mbappe, who's definitely much more veered towards the left. So I don't think there's an issue there for them necessarily. I definitely think that their issue, their Achilles heel, is definitely their back line, and more specifically, their
The center
their
back
center back
rotation.
pairing. Yeah,
The
like
center back
I
rotation
mean,
is really rough, in my opinion. And I think that's the thing they have to go out and buy. I don't really know who you go out and buy. I know Bastoni's going to be on the market. I know Kanate is going to be in the market, but Kanate's performances are terrible. I don't think any of PSG center backs are really on the market. I hope we get rid of Lucas Beraldo, but doesn't seem that that's going to be happening. So I don't know. If you were Chelsea, who do you look at and go buy?
I mean, there's a typical like the big one, Upamecano's, contract. See
I
what you
think
can
that's
do
who
there.
PSG going by, in my opinion. Put next to
Yeah.
Pacho.
I mean, I guess you have to wait and see. I guess, yeah, you still have Levi Koa, who's out. Potentially Gahey, potentially try to hijack that move to Liverpool.
I think Liverpool are gonna snag that, and that's another thing. Liverpool's transfer window, they were so good. I know a lot of the transfers haven't worked out. Kirkes hasn't been great. Isak has been poor. Frimpong's barely played due to injury. But I thought Guehi was one they had to deal. Because you knew Konate, I mean, he might not leave now because his performances are so bad. But if you're Liverpool, do you renew the contract? Or do you say, we'll have Joe Gomez as the backup and we'll sign Guehi?
Then you risk losing. I guess it depends. I guess you'd think that Gahey is gonna be a better. Like,
I think
'cause again,
Guehi is quality. I've heard a lot of good things about Guehi. I think England fans
so it'd
call him the definite number one center back choice.
So it'd be like a free transfer for a free transfer because Gahey would be a free transfer. If you get him, unless you get him in January, which in that case,
Which
Christmas
I
might
think
ask for some money.
Liverpool are looking at. I think if Liverpool are looking at getting Guehi in the window of January, you probably want to sell Konate. Because I know Konate's value has dropped due to his performances, but there's going to be some clubs who want Konate, who say,
Yeah, but like who?
There's got to be some. Chelsea probably want them. I think a Man United. I don't think Liverpool are going to sell their direct rivals, but I think a Man United would take them. I think.
But then also you think about it, like you're assuming this is strictly from the Liverpool perspective. But if you're Konate and your contract's about to expire, you have all the reason to just wait, right?
Yeah, I think
Wait till
Konate's
January.
looking at Madrid, which, I mean, Madrid apparently turned down. But I think when you're looking at Rudiger's performances, you gotta go out, and especially with all the injuries Real Madrid deal with. I mean, you got Militao out for a while now. You got Alaba out. Alaba's apparently going to go to the MLS. I mean, you got Asensio putting in horror performances.
Yeah, I guess even as bad as Konate's been, he's probably still better than most of their center backs.
Yeah, I think the center backs that are better are Hoyson and Militao. But with Militao constantly being injured, I mean, you're looking at a center back pairing of the majority of the season while Militao is gone. Konate at right center back, Hoyson at left center back. So.
Yeah, I suppose maybe Madrid still are interested. I think we've seen though Madrid are going to do their gimmick of they'll wait till the end of the season.
Madrid want that free transfer. They're not going to wait till January. They're not going to get them in January. But to talk about some other defenders that we were just bringing up PSG defenders. And PSG, in terms of defense, what do you think they do this summer? Do you think they keep the defense? Do you think they sell some defenders? Do you think they sign some defenders?
I mean, well, the one reoccurring thing has always been the right back role, right? That was the big hallmark and concern over the summer, and you would argue has probably been the biggest point of question for this year. But I think we sort of have a response in that we've got Warren Zaire, we can go play there. We've got David Bolu who's coming up, and it's as what Luis Enrique said in a previous press conference, is that it's sort of the issue now at PSG is that when you're doing your recruitment, especially specifically for a right back, you have to find a right back who's a good enough to play for PSG in the standards of PSG and fit into the product of PSG, but two, a right back that is going to be good enough, but also basically accept that he's going to be for 70-80% of the season a backup.
For
And
Ashraf
you're never
Hakimi.
yeah, so and you're never gonna find a top caliber. Like, I mean, one idea that some PSG fans floated around with was like Desiree Doué's brother, Gila Doué. Good, he's a good right back and whatnot. But then it's like, well, if you're Gila Doué, why would you come to PSG? Yes, great and whatnot, and only play 20% of the game?
Yeah, when you're a
So
starter at Strasbourg. I mean, the main idea
exactly,
is probably him and his brother sharing the pitch sometimes. But I think like
true, true. That
I think like
I mean,
yeah, continue.
no, I mean, I'll just say that for them specifically. I guess you'd argue they've already done that before at Rennes. So as in, yeah, it'd be nice to do it at PSG, but also like Gila Doué wants to go and increase. Like he's an international player. He plays for the Ivory Coast. So as in, why would you go and get him? I think what we've gotten now, sort of right back, makes the most sense. You got a Warren who's a midfielder who's playing there, and he's been doing quite well there. And you've got a young player coming up in David Bolly who would be okay only playing 20% of the games. So I think our right back is actually it kind of makes sense. Um, Again, the only issue would be sort of what we have now is if you have a long-term injury from Ashraf. But the thing is, still though, is that Afcon should like by the time we finish the next two remaining Champions League games, Hakimi should be back, right? Like there's rumors that he's going to try to make like force a return back for Afcon, assuming you know,
For
gets
the
a week and whatnot.
knockouts, yeah, that's what I've
Yeah,
heard.
he should still be back, assuming you give him a week's rest and whatnot for the final, at least potentially the final Champions League game. So we should have him back for the rest of the defense. Again, at left back, Nuno is our starter. You've got Hernandez who can play there as a center back pairing.
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's
we've
the thing
got
with
enough.
like Hernandez. Hernandez, he's really. I think I rate Hernandez. I think he's good distribution wise. I think he's solid defensively. He doesn't offer really anything going forward, but that's not what we expect out of Hernandez. We just want him to be good passing and defending. And I think Hernandez accepted the backup role. Hernandez could go to a decent club and be a starting left
Mhm.
back, but he stayed there. But then you take a defender like Lucas Brado, very good on the ball, defending. It's just not
Yeah,
there.
that's the issue. I mean, on the one hand, I'm sort of like you in that, like, yes, it's great to be good on the ball and whatnot, and he
Because
sort of
that's what
reminds me.
Enrique wants.
Yeah, he sort of kind of reminds me of a certain young center back playing for a Catalan club, but people don't like when I say his name because they find it disrespectful. So,
Say his name. I
uh,
don't know who you're talking about.
Dog Barsi rhymes with Dog Barsi.
Kubarsi is.
As in, I just find like they're very good with the ball at their feet. They've got really good distribution, but defending wise, they're not great. And I think both of them are sort of in that same boat category of that they're very good with the ball at their feet. They're modern defenders, but the number one quality of a defender is you need to be able to defend. And I feel like Beraldo's sort of the opposite of what Pacha was. I thought that Pacha, like last year, the thing was like he's much more like a man, hard on the man, good defender, but not the best with the ball at his feet. But it's like I'd rather have a defender who's not nearly the best with the ball at his feet, but
I'd
can
much
defend.
rather have Pacho than Beraldo any day of the week.
Exactly, exactly. And also, we've seen that Pacho, his ball playing abilities have improved whilst being at PSG. So that's something you can coach it into a player. So, but on the flip side though, with the Beraldo, I think what I tend to forget is that Beraldo's young. Like I found mistaken, Beraldo's like younger than I am. So especially being a
How old is
defender.
Beraldo?
It's like 21, 20, or maybe he's 2022 soon.
Enrique
Easy.
Enrique seems to really like Beraldo because I remember when.
Yeah, he seems to.
Yeah, Beraldo is 22. He just turned
Yeah,
22 a few weeks ago.
yeah. So he's my age. So like, there's all the aspect of like, it's I mean, bar Kubarsi, most defenders take some even Dean Huijsen at Real Madrid. Like he's not been playing exceptionally well either, and it typically takes defenders, especially center backs, a bit more time to get used to it and get up to there. Like look at, for example, someone like Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk only really got his move to Liverpool very late on in his career, like by just normal players metrics, and look what he's been able to go and do since. So there's that aspect of I don't want to go and like lose him and let him go, and then only for him to go and ball out and start doing great.
Yeah, because he spent 2 years at Sao Paulo and then came to us.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's like even with like Markey, you go back in like his time initially, like it took him a while to impose himself into that starting 11, and then eventually he got there. So I don't want to let go too early. But to answer the question of like our defense, I think the question is on the captain and what we do with him.
Do we sign Upamecano? That's the question.
I think we should.
I think, because look, I love Marquinhos, and this isn't me trying to hate on Marquinhos. I personally think what Enrique is doing, I think Enrique is building up Zabarnia to be a starter. That's what I think Enrique's doing. Speaking of Zabarnia, I think Zabarnia has handled the Safonov situation so poorly, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because look,
I concur.
I can understand the frustration. Russia, I'm not gonna get into all the Russia-Ukraine stuff.
Politics, yeah.
Yeah, it's not what we're gonna do. But Safonov, that's where Safonov was born. Safonov has nothing to do with what's going on in the war. So when Zabarnia came to the club, he requested for Safonov to no longer be there. And I think that's crazy. Safonov is one of the best backup goalkeepers in the world. So I think Safonov, we're lucky to have Safonov. Safonov could go to a very good club and be a starter. So I think Zabarnia asking that is crazy. I think I would rather have Safonov on the team than Zabarnia.
No, I mean I agree, and to go on that point, I'm sure you must have heard like the game against Rennes. Safonov started conveniently. Zabarnia was sick. You know, I think people like in the French media, people said he had the Russia flu. Conveniently, he had the Russian flu, and I agree that because I remember there were talks and discussions because we tried to do the move in January of last year or earlier on last year, and there were discussions of Safonov, he's Russian, so on and so forth. And I heard like, it's not going to be a problem. And then only for now, he's coming now and he's talking about the thing, and apparently his wife is getting. It's like I agree with you. It's like he was here before you were. Safonov's not unlike. I mean, I don't follow him on socials or anything. He's not said anything. Explicitly or anything. And on top of that, it's like I would even be willing to excuse that if like I don't know. Zabarni's been playing, excellent. He's not been playing good either. So
Zabarnia's had a really good game, his debut and against Barcelona. Besides that, not really.
Iffy. Exactly. Yeah, and it's like so you're not performing well either. You're the one coming to the club and whatnot, and you're the one wanting to make demands. So I'm just like, no
player is bigger than the club. If you don't want a player at the club, you can leave.
And I also think like before, during when a certain dictator was at the club, currently plays at Madrid currently, we had problems left, right, and center. Pivot gang this. I want to leave the club this. And all of last year, I don't think it's a coincidence that you would argue what was PSG's biggest, piece of controversy was probably Dembele getting left out against Arsenal. That was it in October.
Yeah, because he had that argument with Enrique.
Yeah, but bar that, like you could say, okay, that happens in sport, like okay, but bar that, there weren't any issues at the club. And bringing this geopolitics, especially given, the sensitive nature of, Russia, Ukraine, what's going on over there, we don't need that at the club. So I'm just like, from Zabarni, going and wanting to force the move, and especially on top of going and how difficult it was for us to get that move. Because I remember we wanted to
get that move. We wanted to get it for the Club World Cup. We wanted him at the Club World Cup, and we got it after. I don't even think he was there for the Super Cup, if I remember that correctly.
He was there, but he wasn't in the squad. Because I remember Marquinhos gave him the medal after the game and everything. But like for all the stuff that we've gone through to get him, it just feels like what's the point of going and doing so? And so, listen, we'll have to wait and see. It's still early on in the season. We'll have to see. But I would go and say, I think Upamecano, we have to get him. That is a no-brainer.
Because I think for me, Upamecano, people kind of remember that City performance in 22-23. But Upamecano, for me, is one of the best center backs in the world, and he fits Enrique's play style. Very good on the ball, very good defensively. So I think him and Pacho. I love Marquinhos, but I think his best days are behind him. And I think, Marquinhos' loyalty's paid off. But at some point, you got to realize PSG, we're not just trying to take that one Champions League and move on. We're trying to win multiple because we have the players, we have the talent, we have the future. Upamecano's kind of young. Marquinhos is 31, I believe. And so I think Upamecano, a lot of clubs are going to be asking for him. He's 27 compared to Marquinhos is 31. He's got a good 5, 6, 7 years in him. So I think that's a player who.
Yeah. On top of that, he's French. He grew up in this he's very good best mates with Dembele. He's already expressly made it known that he'd love to be able to go and play for PSG as well. So there wouldn't be even adaptation and whatnot. I just think everything checks, and if we have the means to get Upamecano, we get him and sort of figure out everything afterwards. If you tell me we get Upamecano, but that means we have to get rid of Zabarny. Say, let's do it.
Hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. Upamecano's levels above Zabarnia, in my opinion. So I like Zabarnia. He's a player that can improve, but if Zabarnia doesn't know how to keep it professional with Safonov, I don't think you kick Safonov out the club. Because there's talks, not from players or coaches, but from fans, that Safonov's been better than Chevalier. There's been no talks about Zabarnia starting over Marquinhos.
Yeah. And it's not like Marquinhos has been, setting the world alight either with his performance.
Yeah, had that very not great performance against Bayern.
Yeah, against Bayern, yeah.
But I think in terms of what PSG should do in the offseason, Upamecano, is there any other transfers you would like to see? I heard that midfielder from Lille. He's rumored to Arsenal. He's rumored to PSG. He's a young player. I would like to see it.
At Lyon or Lille?
Lille. I don't know if you've heard the player.
Ayub Buadi, him.
Yeah.
The only issue is that he literally last week signed a new contract. Okay, that doesn't mean anything necessarily, but I don't know. I think PSG definitely interested, and the thing is, he grew up. He was a PSG fan. You can find pictures of him wearing a PSG jersey. I think with him, it's if we can get him, we can go. But I think
it's not one of those we need him.
I don't think we need. Yeah, we don't need him right now because I think our midfield is one of the you would argue
probably have one of, if not the best midfielder. I mean, we have Vitinha, João Neves, Fabian, Mayulu when he plays there.
Yeah, even I think our midfield is probably our strongest too. Even when you think of our oldest midfield is Fabian. He's 28.
And you look at our midfield in the past. We're talking Paredes, Draxler, Herrera, Verratti was very good, but besides Verratti, we never had any major midfield great players, and I think that was a big issue over the years. The years that we had those teams like that, when people were talking about the biggest issues with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, I think the biggest issues were the managers and the midfield. Because I think, and injuries. I think we had so many injuries people don't talk about.
Yeah, but on the midfield, I think we're pretty stacked. As in, our oldest midfielder is Fabian, who's 29. So, okay, definitely not young, but, in his prime years currently. And then you go and you look at who we've got. We've got Vitinha, who's 25.
I think João Neves is 21.
Yeah, João Neves 21. You got Zaire who's 19. Mayulu, who's 19. Desiree Doué, who can play as a 10. He's 20.
I'm not a fan of Desiree Doué in the midfield. Kang Lee, who can play in the midfield as well.
I think just in midfield thus far, I think we're as in if the opportunity
I would like
another
young player. I wouldn't mind the signing. We have the money. Is it a signing? Hey, Al Khalifi, go make this signing ASAP. No, you can wait a couple. You can wait years. You can wait for him to develop.
Yeah. The only thing would be do you get him? So is it almost like you get him so that other teams can't get him? So you get him so
he's been rumored to Arsenal. But I mean, I think if PSG wanted him, he would come to the club.
Yeah.
If PSG contacted Lille and said, "We want this player, set a price, we'll pay," the transfer would happen. So if PSG want the signing, we'll make it happen. But if PSG are like, we don't really need the signing, then they won't get it.
Exactly.
And then, in terms of selling players, is there anybody you think we should sell or loan out?
Maybe, I mean, we were talking about him earlier. Beraldo potentially.
A loan? We're talking about a loan deal for Beraldo?
Yeah, I think on loan. I think potentially getting rid of Lucas. I just feel
Hernandez?
like, I mean, he's coming back. He's been better.
I like Hernandez because I think Hernandez is a very solid backup left back. Like you said about the backup right back situation earlier, are we really going to find a backup left back who's that good? Hernandez isn't this great left back, but he's good. He can get the job done. We've played him in big games when we've needed him. So I think Hernandez, we're not going to give much for him if we sell him. We don't really need the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think you keep him.
I suppose, yeah. Now that I don't think there's anybody specifically we need to go and get rid of.
I know you
It
were
seems
talking
like
about
they-
some Giancarlo Ramos.
Oh, I think Ramos he needs to go. He needs to go.
You
As
think
in-
so? I think Ramos is a
think-
player we have to keep because
No.
no. Hear me out. I think Ramos coming off the bench, like you said. I saw one of your other videos after he said he's a profile. We don't have the club. We don't have a traditional number 9. Ramos has done so much in terms of late goal. Oh my God. Ramos has done so much in terms of late goals. And I think off the bench, he's a good player. If we need a number 9, if it's one of those games where we have to break down low blocks, I think Ramos is a player you bring on. And realistically, if we sell him, what are you going to get? 40 million? Do we need that money?
Well, I mean, I guess it's not that, but the thing is with Gonzalo Ramos is he's a player who's you could argue is too good to be on the bench, but not good enough for us to be a starter. Like whenever he starts, we see the difference. When he starts for us, he's
Not great on the ball.
yeah, he's disgusting. He's lazy. But then when he comes off the bench, he's looking like a Primar 9. The thing is, though, he's too good to be coming off the bench. He shouldn't for his qualities. He's still young. He needs to develop. He should be at a club. I think he'd succeed.
Are you talking about loaning him out or selling him?
I mean, unless so long as Luis Enrique's at the club, I don't think he's gonna I just think his profile is not what Luis Enrique wants.
I know he was rumored to leave in the summer. I haven't heard much rumors about him in the winter. Maybe we'll hear some by the time January comes around. But I think if PSG, I would not be a fan if he left the club, especially selling him. I wouldn't mind a loan, sure, get him better on the ball, but selling him, I don't know. I don't think we should. We don't have that number 9. And when Kolomwani comes back off loan, we're going to sell him too.
So saying suitors, yeah. But yeah. No, I think overall, I mean, the only one I would say is I'd probably get rid of Gonzalo. As much as I, enjoy his late minute goals and whatnot, I just don't think we necessarily need him.
Anybody else? Anybody in the midfield? Kengan Lee maybe?
I would have said Kengan Lee, at the start, but I think he showed that he's, again, another thing of if he's happy to, come off the bench and whatnot and won't, cause any ruckuses, I think he's more than okay to come off the bench.
Yeah, I agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first episode of the Extra Time FC podcast. Me and Junior, like I said before, I will leave the link in the description to all our social medias. This will be uploaded on YouTube. The clips will be uploaded on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. I will also try my best to upload this on Spotify. I will try and figure out a way. No guarantees, but make sure to drop a follow, drop a subscription, like the video, share it, repost it, do what you got to do, and I'll see you in the next one.